That was cute. That was an original thing that I did for a movie score way back when I was into jingles and movie scores. How we doing today, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to the show. Another rendition of P.S. I Love Me, where we teach you how to love yourself. This show is sponsored by LMC, where loyalty means everything. And of course, Olmiga Enterprises. And with your host, Olmiga. Welcome to a new show. We'll talk about Christmas. We're going to talk about the holidays that just passed by. How is everybody doing? First and foremost, Corona is everywhere. The I think it's called Omicron. I try to not stay in touch with too much with what's going on because it'll drive someone crazy. I can't believe that at this point, late in 2021, we are still seeing devastating results and numbers flying all over the place, and people are still confused as to what's going on. I being one of them, that's why I don't engage too much in the media. If anyone wants to elaborate on what exactly is going on, I'm not the one for that. I try to stay away from that information because it's depressing. Everyone has corona. Everyone has something going on. And it's spreading like wildfire. So please take care of yourselves. Do the best you can not to spread it. And that's what I want to bring to the table right now. So without further ado, I thought maybe that this could be a new type of show today episode where we talk about the shows leading to this show. I don't believe anyone else is on today on the radio station, so I'm here to represent LMC. In the best way possible by trying to kick it with you and kick it with everyone else that wants to talk about real things. We videotape these things. We are live on FM radio. We are on Twitch. We are on YouTube. Yes, we are. So today the topic is going to be insanity. We're going to talk. That's going to be the head topic today. The head topic today is going to be insanity, and yeah, we need to talk about that a little bit because the word is used very loosely in certain situations, and I wanted to get to the bottom of what this, really means, or different variations of what it could mean. So I brought this to the table here, and I wanted to see what what Google has is the noun, which is the state of being seriously mentally ill, madness. He suffered from bouts of insanity. Similar extreme foolishness or irrationality. But people also ask down here, what is the actual definition of insanity? And this is the one where the cliche comes out, and they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. These words are usually credited to the acclaimed genius Albert Einstein. Well, Albert Einstein, being the genius that he is, and the aptitude and the ability that he had to use mathematical formulas and look at things from a mathematical standpoint to explain things, it's hard to argue the science that he has brought to light. But I'm not here to challenge Albert Einstein, but I do want to talk about that, how cliche it has become. And I'm going to bring this over so I'm not continuously looking. I'm going to be professional, and I'm going to bring the actual page that I'm looking at so that I can continue to look at you. That's another growth that I'm working on. So let's talk about this. Doing the same thing over and over and over and over and expecting a different result. How do we work with that? So basically, and if you take it one way, you're saying that if you do the same thing over and over and you expect a different results, then there's something wrong with you. Makes you insane. But what about if you want to practice something to a point where you become a professional at it or great at it? You have to keep hitting the pavement. You have to keep working on something. You have to work hard and do things over and over. To be an artist, a basketball player, the work ethic that Kobe Bryant put in to be Kobe Bryant. What people don't see behind the scenes of the professionals, that the work ethic that they have behind the scenes and what they do to prepare to give you that amazing character, these amazing abilities and skills to share with you. They have to do the same thing over and over and over and over again until it becomes second nature. So there's a little bit of a contrast there when we speak about insanity in two different ways. Now, the word is also used to describe something that is like astronomically good as well. Like they'll say the word, "Oh man, that was insane, dude. Like, did you see what he said? I can't believe that he did that." Like some off pocket or off the wall move. Like let's say a skateboarder, if you're into the X Games, that, or a skier that will jump in the air and do a 360 15 times, or any acrobatic move, like incredible feat like that. It would take you. Salute to DJ Lou Diamonds. How you doing, my brother? Nice to see you here. Love the support, man. Always will be. Back and forth. You know how we do. So yeah, we talk about the insanity feature and how is it used, and it's used in a positive way as well. You know, this is what I'm trying to explain in certain words is words that we normally use in a negative connotation feels awkward when they are used in a positive light. When someone is stubborn to the fact that it belongs to a negative narrative or negative connotation, what ends up happening is they will never be able to see it in a positive light because it's been diminished and utilized in such a abusive, negative way that it might not be able to have the energy to see it in a positive way. That's like I said, the word insanity. The word insanity, you could use it in a positive light. You can say, man, that was insane, bro. Like, did you see that double play, that triple play in baseball? Did you see that behind the back dunk? That's insane. Like, remember Vince Coleman? They used to call him Vince Sanity. You know what I'm saying? That was his nickname. So the word has throughout time, and this is what people don't want to see. They don't want to see words being spread out and used in different categories. But what do you expect when the English language was created? And it's a creation. The language is a composite. It's a big soup of a lot of different languages. I don't want to say that the English language was stolen, but it was, or copied. I just want to say that a lot of the references in the English language, you know, was utilized from different countries, and from there it grew. A lot of Spanish words have been converted into English, and a lot of French words, and a lot of other even African words and Taino words from Aztecs and Incas, and we can go on and on and on. But what I'm trying to get at is, you know, the English language uses these words with some type of direction, and this is how they can tell why there's so many synonyms. And we spoke about this before, is because the English language has an intention as to determine and depict what's your background, and depending on what synonym you use for these words, you're able to define things in a more accurate status, and therefore it defines something about yourself. Christmas was great, Lou. Christmas was a good time. I was with the family. Everybody was happy, but out of Christmas spirit, a lot of people, not anyone directly to me, except for one person, has had direct contact with COVID, and unfortunately, it changes the way you look at things, and you have to be responsible. Some of us are more compromised than others when it comes to health, but for the most part, Christmas was pretty good. I vowed to do a different Christmas next year, which would be a little bit more exotic, go back to the motherland, Puerto Rico, or go to somewhere tropical in order to have a different type of Christmas. So yes, I hope everybody out there is having a relaxed time. I hope we get to a point where the stress levels are down. You know, during the holidays, stress levels are down. I have people that I know that have lost their mother that are close to me, and they're going through their time too. Shout out to them. It's really difficult. You know, last year around this time, I had one of my closest friends that I grew up with also pass away from, he had a heart attack. He just finished beating COVID. This was on New Year's Eve. So now here we are, December 28th, Tomorrow's my daughter's birthday. She'll be 17. Time just flies, so we're having a good time. We're trying to do things the way things are supposed to be done. Last year, she couldn't have a sweet 16. It's just been sacrifice after sacrifice, if you want to call it that, based on culture demand, you know what I'm saying? Not of actual necessity, unless the culture is that important to you that you need to follow it precisely the way that it is normally conducted. So here we are. We're going to push and we're going to talk about pointing fingers. We were on insanity for a little while. I want to make sure that we picked up everything that we needed to pick up, from this insanity definition and meaning. So we kind of covered basically what it is. It has a different meaning. It's used in various ways. Allow yourself to understand that you can use words in different contexts. Do not allow anyone to tell you that you cannot use a word that is usually used in negativity for positivity, because what you're doing is allowing them to limit what you can do. So in other words, you'll stay away from something that has a negative value and is strong on the negative side. And you will avoid it because that's the only thing you know about it, and you don't see it in any way because that's the way it was been described to you. But I'm here to tell you that you can use words that are predominantly negative and understand that it's not the word. Don't blame it on the word. Blame it on the messenger, on the person that's utilizing the word and their lack of understanding how to either pronounce a word, use it the correctly, vocabulary level, comprehension skills, understanding. What kind of a person do you talk to? Let's talk about growth. What kind of a person do you talk to? Are you the type of person that wants to talk to people that are interesting? Okay, of course, we all want to talk to interesting people, right? But we all have a different sense of what interesting is. We do. We all have different tastes. We all have different preferences. We all have different customs, different beliefs, different strategies for life, different budget concerns. We are all different, but we are all similar. There's business types of markets that can describe that, like a perfect competitive market where everybody sells the same thing, and that's it. We're all going to follow the world market price, and we're going to do whatever it takes. And then someone will create something a little different about it. They get the edge, and then someone copies that, and then they get the edge because they add it. So it's just a continuous competition. Monopolistic competition is another way of looking at that. You look at these things and you ask yourself, we talk about pointing fingers. We're talking about pointing fingers now. When you are allowed to point fingers. You see, this is the thing that we have been taught or been around situations where they tell you and limit what you can and can't do. They tell you shouldn't make assumptions, you shouldn't make judgments, you shouldn't criticize. You shouldn't do that. Only God can judge me. We talked about that. I apologize for bringing this to light, but there are people that are qualified to judge if it's done in fairness, if it's done with a leadership quality, if it's done with the intent to grow, not mock, hurt, ridicule, or strong sarcasm, to be facetious. We speak about these words because vocabulary level is important, because it gets to the heart and matter of what you're trying to say, especially if you understand it. If you're open to learning, we will all grow together. Pointing fingers. You have to point fingers in the right direction. You have to blame, if that's what you're going to do, if that's the word you want to use, or you want to hold somebody accountable, or you want to have someone take responsibility. They're all facets of doing what you're supposed to do and stepping up to the plate and being a human, not just a man or a woman, but a real human. So you think about that. It's okay to point fingers if you're fair about it. But when you point fingers, understand that that more fingers are gonna point back at you. There is a saying, I don't know exactly how that goes, but yeah, the more fingers you point, the more fingers get pointed back at you. So let's understand that, and let's give it the best possible way that we can look at things from an open perspective here. Now, what time is it? It's 6:17. We got a lot of time today, so we're going to talk about a couple of subjects. It's the end of the year right now. It's the past Christmas. What else? I can tell you that I drank some eggnog that included a flavor of pistachio, and then I have a chocolate one too, and it was yummy. I could also tell you that I did eat a lot over the holidays consecutively. I went to 2 different places, and they had traditional Hispanic Puerto Rican food there with a couple of twists and turns, but for the most part, yummy stuff. Is it the most healthiest stuff? Absolutely not. But is it great? Yes. It's sleepy time. Then after that, and in between Chinese food arrangement, you already know how that works. I like to be honest about, being a human being, because I'm all about health. I'm all about what you are what you eat, but I am also human. So we have our times where we fall a little bit off and we release a little bit of the tightness and the discipline. And guess what? I'm still in a head start because of the accomplishments that I look at throughout the year. If I look at myself from the beginning of this year to now, I have gained more by losing things that were too difficult to maintain, because it comes with a lot of, and I'll give you an example, it comes with a lot of turmoil, it comes with a lot of chaos, it comes with a lot of toxicity and a lot of undisciplined and unrational people and circumstances where they're not ready to have a conversation that will progress. It would only stay there in stalemate and a competitive, conversation at those points you don't need. So I've learned how to deal with separation anxiety. I've learned how to deal with letting things go that are not good for me, that are holding me back, that are stopping me from the vision that I see myself. So you have to understand these things, and you have to be extremely cautious, aware, alongside of understanding what we go, bring it back to the assumptions, bring it back to the criticizing, bring it back to the judgment, bring it back to the pointing fingers. If you're going to point fingers, make sure you have the whole story. If you're going to point fingers, make sure you do it in a diligent way. There's a lot of responsibilities when you do this. There's a lot of difficulties when you're the person that has to deliver a message. If you want to be a leader, if you want to be the person that is the one who dictates how things go, then you have to do things by the book and let matters fall into the hands of reality. Let's be realistic. Let's be real about what life is and the traumas and the decisions that we have to make on a daily basis that are horrible for some of us. Like Christmas was not easy for some. It was difficult for people to make ends meet when it came to buying presents, and some people live check to check, and you got to respect that. They're trying their best. At the same time, you have a whole year to prepare for this in advance. And if you're not taking advantage of these things at a slower pace, then it comes as a lump sum. Some people don't have the capacity to deal with a weighted toxicity or a weighted stressful situation. And then when 2 things collide, then you have all these extra weight that you have to be working with. So how are you going to think straight when you have all these extra boulders you're carrying around with, Now, I will give some people some suggestions about what to do about the New Year resolutions that everybody has. You're going to see a lot of people at the gym the beginning of the month, and then you're going to see people fall off, and then it becomes really quiet. Maybe this year with the lifting numbers and the escalating numbers of the virus that's just spreading like wildfire again, maybe you'll see something different. But nevertheless, I'll start out with this. A lot of traditions say that you should clean your home. And I say home because it doesn't matter, apartment, condo, wherever you reside, wherever you rest your head at, your home. Clean your home. Clean it from corner to corner. Throw some things out that you're never going to use, or sell them. Make some money out of it. Bring some income into your life. Stop hoarding. Stop taking all these things and making more of something that you're never going to use. Give it away. Do something with it. Just keep it in circulation, because some of these things that you're not using does not have a spiritual metabolism, if that makes any sense. They don't have a spiritual existence because they're dormant. They're not doing anything. You're not doing anything with this. If you have clothes that you know don't fit you, then what are you gonna do? There might be sizes way too small. So if that's what you're going to do, then hold on to those clothes, but please begin to work your way towards those things. Stop holding on to these things. And if you have clothes that are so big, not the big shirts that ladies wear at night, to cover, and some ladies like to be comfortable that way. They like to wear a long t-shirt. They wear the man's t-shirt. I don't know who's like that, who's not like that. I know that is the common thing where I come from. So, and what I have witnessed myself. Now, you have to clean your house. You have to mop the floor. You have to open the windows and let the air out. You have to dust. You have to remove things that don't belong there. You have to do a lot of things. Just do as much as you can. Shake that toaster. Clean that microwave on the inside. Don't let it look decrepit. You know what I'm saying? Because these are some things that it's not just because of what it looks like. It's because of the toxins. It's because of the food that's out there that could create sickness. You could feel bad, and it could mix in with something else that you're cooking. You have to be very careful. Clean under areas, that you normally don't. Clean under the microwave, clean under the toaster, clean under the blender, move everything, clean everything, clean the bottom of it, like get into it, put some music, do something that'll motivate you, for all those people that get a Fitbit, and that'll count your steps, or an Apple Watch, or something that can register something so that you could get into these competitions. That's a good way to start the year. See, all things is relative to get you moving, to get into the spirit and let go of that negative energy. I don't know if anyone else feels that when I'm cleaning my home. It feels like I'm getting rid of a lot of the omen kind of things, the bad spirits, the negative energy that I feel, that I know exists. Wasn't the only person to live, reside, or work in this place, so I know that there's history here before that, and they might not have released it, so therefore I have to release these things, the whispers that are in the walls, the air, you just have to clean things out, just like you have to filter your air conditioner, just like you have to filter a lot of other things, you have to do that as well. So yeah, that's all part of getting ready for New Year's resolutions. Look, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the best thing, because a lot of people start New Year's resolutions and then they end it because they're doing a pattern. They're promising to do things differently only because there's a change of year. And for some people that seems ridiculous, but for other people that is a good way of starting, but it's just not the starting part. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man. I need people to start cleaning. I need people to start motivating. I need people to start putting their best foot forward, and it starts with keeping active, keep your brain active, and then let the body get involved as well. Let's give it a little balance. You think, you read something, you enhance your vocabulary, you advance the way you speak. You have to advance. Who am I to judge? Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm look, I have my standards and you have yours. So in order for certain people to be in my life, there are certain characteristics and there are certain personalities and respect that I demand to be in my circle. And they're not outrageous. They are founded by long-term, equal and equivalent responsibility and accountability within friends. It's a big responsibility, to be a friend, to be a family member, a real family member, which I always say is earned. You have to earn your family. You have to earn trust. This is the way it is. That's the way I feel about it. And I will continue to be that way. No one has to listen to what I'm saying, but I'm giving people a better perspective or a different perspective, because I will only judge myself. I will judge me and the person that I was yesterday, and that's how I want to keep it for now. So let's talk about the subjects that we went through this year. Just on this recording, we have other recordings and other platforms. We did the Mixcloud, and we have some recordings there of some of the first earlier episodes, but We have grown. This radio station, LMC, has grown. I have grown as an individual. We all are trying to grow and facilitate, what we want to give to the fans and everyone that's watching right now. So, yeah, this is a win-win situation for everyone. Now, the first show that we did here and these recordings through Twitch and through YouTube and the FM radio station, the first one was assumptions, where we talked about assumptions and we tried to split them up as to, do people have the right to assume, and does it take a certain level of intelligence on how to process the data and the information that we get in order to obtain and make scientific and real profound guesstimates. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about this. So there are people that get paid to make judgment calls and judgments on people, on things they taste, things they drink, all the senses, smelling, tasting, what they see, and the expressive way is through the mouth. And that's the output, and then the input is what you can taste, which is also related to the nasal, what you can smell, eyes, what you hear, and what you can touch, what you can feel. So think about that. Assumptions should be only for people that will make reasonable assumptions, like a calculated guess, a very intelligent guess that has not all the information, but utilizes the only information that's available to the best of their ability, to the best of their knowledge. So we also talked about splitting assumptions, and I'll write it for you here, which is great. We also talked about splitting assumptions into maybe like something like two different universes, And if you take the assumptions that we do, right? Assumptions, right? We take the assumptions right here, and we have two different levels of assumptions, right? Right here, we'll do the expectations. I'm trying to fit that in right there, expectations. And then we have a level of anxiety. We take anxiety and we utilize anxiety always negative. Is there such thing as positive anxiety? I think that's called nervous. So anxiety is on the red side, right? If we're doing levels, right? Remember we talked about levels? And on the blue side, we have expectations, right? Which are part of assumptions, if you ask me. Anxiety is part of an assumption. You're assuming the worst. You're thinking about things that doesn't happen. You're always thinking about the negative of it. But you realize that you could also have positive anxiety, just like you could have negative expectations. If we're going to use red as the negative and blue as the positive, if we're going to separate these things and they go hand in hand, and we're talking about assumptions, then think about that. Think about that for 1 sec. You split up the assumption, you have the anxiety, and then you have the expectations. Both are assumptions. You're assuming, you're expecting somebody to do that, but you're assuming. And sometimes you expect things because you're used to seeing something, and when it's not there anymore, you start bugging out, or you start, acting a little bit different because the habit is there. So are you entertaining the habit, or are you interested, or the interests? Those are things that we need to grow to develop a conscience to and be aware of what we're doing. So again, the anxiety and the expectations are assumptions. Anxiety, you could be nervous about something. I'll give you an example. My daughter was learning how to drive, and she texts me during the day, "Hey, Dad, I'm really nervous." She tried to get out of it through the whole week. "I'm really nervous about this." And I'm like, "That's a great thing." And I don't think, and she doesn't understand these things. And I say, "Yeah, it's great to be nervous. It is great to be nervous. Embrace the nervousness, because then the nervousness becomes fear." See? Fear of what? Fear of what, though? Fear of what? The unknown. Fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown. We also had, on the sixth show, was stubborn. We're talking about stubbornness, right? I got the thing. We talked about stubbornness. We talked about stubbornness, and that's part of it. That you embrace it, and you're afraid of something, and it makes you nervous because you're getting close to the moment where you're going to have to do something that you know it's important, and you know that it has to be done, but you overcompensate, you overthink it, you push it too hard on the anxiety meter, and it becomes stressful. It pushes the stress levels, the weight on our shoulders. But if you learn how to look at things and say, hey, nothing to be nervous. You're nervous, that's a good thing. That means that you're ready and you're thinking about it, but don't overthink it, because this is you got this. Support. Support is an important thing. Not growing up in some of the situations where I grew, where they would tell you, don't be such a wuss. Or I grew up a lot more hard-nosed and old school than she ever will. So to that effect, think about it. You're stubborn about new things. So you're afraid to take these chances. You're afraid to take a step forward. And you have control of that. And this is the difference between humans and animals, that we have the ability to choose. Animals going to do what an animal does. And you have to understand that. And that makes all the sense in the world. So we could also talk about the second one. The second thing we talked about was selfishness. Right? We talked about selfishness, and we can look at it in which way possible, right? Selfishness is another topic that we spoke about. Selfish. Is selfish a good thing, or is selfish a bad thing? I don't think, and it's another word that people use in a negative way. So, and it's always used negatively, so that's what people are used to. But when you have to love yourself, you have to be selfish at times. You have to be able to use selfishness. Maybe it's called something else, but you have to be kind of selfish and think about yourself at certain times and not other people, because you're not developed in a certain area in your life. Something that you're putting together, a growth, a strategy that's not complete, a goal that you want to reach. And you have to pull yourself back sometimes and not be a part of certain things. I see you, Locked. I see you, Mr. Locked and Loaded. That's a up and coming artist, man. This is a guy that works really hard. He's the perfect example of not being selfish. He gives, what he feels, and he lives off energy. It didn't take much for me and this person to get along, because we both are on the same page when it comes to the important things, and then the other things, not overlooked, they're easier to deal with. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you tapping in. I appreciate everyone else that's watching and that will watch this. But it's 2022 that's coming soon, and we're going to learn. Take the selfishness, right? You got to be selfish for self. You know what I'm saying? So I already said it. I already said, if you break the word self, right? I already said it. So the ish is what we use now in words when we say, I'll be there around 8 o'clock-ish. What you're saying is that give or take, but the next question should be give or take how many minutes? I'm around 8 o'clock-ish. That could be 8:30. That leaves too much room for, no clarity whatsoever. So self, you take the ish out, so it's self. So now it's the ish, look, self. You think about yourself. Not in every situation, because if we look at number 7, talk about balance. Number 7 talks about balance, and I'm going to hit these keys. We talked about stubbornness, assumptions, selfishness. I bring up ambiguity, which is having clarity. We're going to run through these things. And the latest one that we talked about, we'll talk about that last, it is what it is. But it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to point fingers if you know what you're talking about. If you're willing to take it back. You know what? I want to learn about myself. So if I have to start pointing fingers at people so that they can tell me something about myself, then maybe that's the way to go. I like different perspectives. I can't be full of it to myself, right? I'm the first one to tell you that we give a different perspective. So why wouldn't I feel comfortable with what I dish out? So I'm careful about what I dish out. I'm careful about what I say. I've learned the traits of being quiet when you need to be quiet. I've learned these skills to determine what happens next. How not to react when it's not time to react. Very seldomly do you have to react in life. That's my thing. Very seldomly do you have to react. If you sit back, they will tell you what's going on. They will show you what's really going on. You don't get involved with the chaos, especially if it is coming to you and it's not in clarity form. It's coming to you in an astray. It's coming to you from the left or the right. You know, you should be doing this. You can't be standing there thinking that it's all good and the perception is going to formulate on its own. You might have to look at it from a different lens or from a different angle. Bob and weave style. You know, the rope-a-dope. You know, what's up? That's how life is. Life is a big rope-a-dope. You know what I'm saying? And you have to bob and weave certain punches. You can't keep taking punches. You gotta duck. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, think about this. Once in a while, you have to duck the punches. And sometimes you have to throw punches. That's how life is. You know? So, we also talked about giving in versus giving up. But these words that people don't use in a positive way, but yet they are allowed to be used in a positive way and are culturally accepted, we got to stop doing this. Use the word as for everything. Like, if the word doesn't have a negative connotation, you know, is when you have a mental problem, right? Let's say when you're diagnosed with a mental situation, is that good or bad? For some people it will be good, for some people it will be bad. What's good about it is that you're diagnosed, you know what it is, you could deal with it now, you can try to fix this. You know, what's the bad thing? That in society you're outcasted. You know, they're not looking at it as a disease. They're looking at it as, oh, wait a minute, he's not down with us anymore. He lost it. He's not allowed in here anymore because he lost his train of thought. He lost, you know, his way to reason, his sanity. You know, like he's crazy. Look, man, you have to balance all these things out. My eye looks at things the way your book is already in. We need to follow our path, but we also need to create our path. You know, Lou, we need to create our path as well, and go with some of the path that has been designed for us in the positive state. Our parents did what they did, whether it was good, bad, enough, or not enough. Whatever they gave us, we have to deal with it. We have to take whatever they gave us and build on that, fill in the blanks, which is not always easy. It's very difficult to do because then you feel like you have to fulfill certain shoes and certain expectations. But when you learn that this is your life, that this is what you have to do, that you have to do things the way things are relative to you, how things work for you, how you feel. But you got to create a balance. You got to be able to say things the way they were meant to be said at the right time. Pick and choose your battles. Balance it out, you know? Because when you're not balanced, you feel sick, you get a headache, you get angry, you discomfort. And then when that builds and it's too much to deal with, that's when all the extra starts coming out. Oh, the book, yes, I get it. I get the Bible. There's a lot of beautiful things in the Bible that we follow. I am not a religious man by any means. I've read different denominations of the Bible. I have looked at different religions. I am a man of God. Yes, I believe in God. I believe in the entity. I believe in the energy. And for the science people, I've already told you, for those undiscovered things or those things that there are no meaning or no explanation for, that energy that you feel, that you can't calculate, that's one of the things that you can't really... They do now have studies where they can feel the vibes or feel the energy and the impulse, but it doesn't determine what the actual feeling is. So there's always room for error, and they're always trying to find out how the human mind things, but this is more for capitalism and to sell you something. This is the psychographics that I talk about. So, not to jump around, but this is what we do in the show. I might be hard to follow sometimes, but if you give it a minute, it'll all come back to full circle. That's what we do. This is who I am. I make no apologies for who I am. Unless I disrespect someone or I'm rude, then again, I still will be apologetic in contradiction to what I just said, because an apology once in a while can, lighten the mood. So what else we talked about? We talked about force. Remember? It's not just when to do the right thing or what to do. It's how hard you're going to go at it. Like the strength and the force that you use. You're doing too much in a level of force. Like, are you reacting too hard? Are you ready to move at a speed that is not required in the situation that you're in, or you're moving too slow? You're not doing enough. We talked about that. We talked about, again, giving up versus giving in, which is giving in is trying to just go with the norm and work with the consensus or whatever the page everybody's on, and giving up is just not having any interest whatsoever. It's not even passive. It is just not there. It is maybe equivalence to depression. We talked about different intangibles and how we put levels to it. So a depression is like you're really not there. You're really not there. When you're depressed, you're really not there. I speak from experience. We've all felt some level of depression somewhere in our life, some more deeper than others, some more longer. And yes, you're not there. You don't want to be there. You understand? It's real simple. To certain people and to other people, they make it a lot more difficult than what it is, because they're doing too much. As long as you know that you feel a certain way, and you know and you've heard how to remove yourself from that, but you're not doing it, you're not giving it the balance that it needs. You're giving up, you're allowing it to do what take its course without any interference or without any control, discipline, or touch with reality whatsoever. So we balance these things. We balance the things that we say. We balance the things that we do. We balance the things. Good evening, good evening, DJ D-Ro. How you doing, man? Thank you for coming into the audience. I appreciate you. For whoever's here, continue to, if you have questions, you have something to add. If you have something that I want to explain, we talked about insanity and how contradictory. This is how we started with the conversation. How contradictory it could be, yet the opposite is not so bad. Like insanity, when you say, "Hey, bro, did you hear?" Like, for example, the rapper, the Locked and Loaded. He says, his style and the things he says, he's really, really good at the things that he does, and it's insane some of the lyrics that he comes up with the creative side of it and the way that he pronounces his words, and it's insane. So I'm allowed to use it in a positive way, which is like, but it's like unprecedented, unheard of. It's like something that, so in other words, isn't that the way the mental health started, where we didn't know anything, and then sooner or later we started dissecting things and dividing them things into different things like bipolarism and ego and what is it, that's toxicity, narcissism, and the syndromes, and the difference between disorders, syndromes, and tendencies, and ADHD and all these things that came later that they weren't recognized, a lot of these things in medical terms, and now Houston, we have a problem, right? But yeah, a lot of misdiagnosis. Like I said, human error is a huge part of the reason and deception of why things are not the way they're supposed to be. So last week we talked about it is what it is. It is what it is. We talked about how it's used primarily for negative. It follows something negative. I guess 9 times out of 10, 95% of the times, 9.5 times out of 10, when you hear the phrase, it is what it is, it usually comes from something that was negative. But tried to explain in my course of life that I try to use it in a positive way. And what I mean by that is when you say that phrase, you're saying that you've accepted it for what it is and you're ready to move on. You're not going to get stuck to the confines and the grudges and the plaque and the toxicities that come, the germinated states that come with all that stuff, that you're ready to just say, you know what? No. We're good. It is what it is. That's it. We got to go. Now, the thing with that is that a lot of people use it in the wrong context. So we explained that last week. A lot of people use it in the wrong context. Therefore, it's not accepted in a lot of norms and a lot of cultures. A lot of people do not like when people use it. But I believe that it's because it is used at the wrong time for the wrong situation. So it is abuse. Just like everything else that becomes cliche. You understand? Like flavors sometimes. Sriracha, chipotle, like fads. You know how things build from catchphrases and words, and businesses are built just because of the popularity of the word, which it's always in your tongue, so you use it and then you manifest it into existence and you end up going to the restaurant. This is heavy duty stuff, and we'll talk about that throughout the course coming next year. Like I said, this year was a beginning year where I look back and could look at my videos and I'll see the mistakes that I made and try to add more quality, more professionalism, a better structure, a better strategy, whatever it takes to reach more people so that we could all be at a place where we could discuss things and give different insight and not be afraid to speak and not have fears destroy opportunity. You know, how you can take advantage and be aware of what's happening around you and understand that opportunities come to you in the most weirdest way. Sometimes God, if we're talking about God, or if we're talking about energy, brings you situations through very uncanny and eerie situations. An enemy could bring you a message that could change your life, and it could be a positive message. You could look at it as a threat because anything that an enemy says is going to be hogwash to you, Pinocchio status, unworthy of your conversation, and unless you are afraid of this person, then it's pushing the fear, which is another reason why you should confront this, because you might be looking at this from a adverse point of view, which might not be 100% correct. So yes, good evening to those that are tapping in, and again, that will tap in. This is an incredible year that we've been through. It's been a couple of rough years. Unemployment was cut for a lot of people, so finances are not the same for a lot. A lot of people relied on the extra unemployment, but a lot of people were abusing it and not taking advantage. They were not investing. They were not growing. They were not paying attention to inflation. Property values going up. The food prices are astronomical. Gas is going up as well. You know, we are trying to figure out if Biden and Harris are going to remove debt, you know what I'm saying? College loans, see if they're going to, the student debt crisis, a lot of things are thrown around. They're going to remove 10,000, they're going to remove 50,000, they're going to be done with it. They have an easy way for you to pay back. Hey, I have an idea. Create some positions where the people that owe money can give back through different programs, through different non-profit organizations, by a weighted system where something that they can offer to communities in need. You know, I don't know if there's a program like that exists, but if it doesn't, you know, that might be a place where they can start. There's a lot of great programs out there that give great services to the community. They try to get through the kids through sports, literature, creativity. The arts we're losing a touch with the arts, with music. We're losing our touch. This is why I'm glad to be in this station, the LMC group, because they're primarily DJs. And I find it hilarious because in the chats with the DJs, they do DJ jokes, and they don't think I understand these DJ jokes because my appearance to them may be of, how can I say this, of an ignorant source to music and to DJing, but I'll have them know that I am fully schooled and I am ready to battle anyone as a DJ as well real soon if I have to do that. But that's all in fun. That being said, you know, we take it for granted, you know, the situations that we're in. We look at things way too one-dimensional. We got to open up our minds to what is the other possibilities, because if we only jump on the first thing that comes to mind, then we're not really rationalizing. Then that means that we can't honestly assume that we're not entitled to be those type of judgmental people who assume. People say, no, I'm not a judge. I don't want to judge. Well, guess what? If I see something wrong, I'm gonna tell you. If you belong to my circle, or we are in the same collab, or we're doing work together, or we have to coexist, if you're doing something wrong, just like I've been told, that they don't want to see me embarrass myself, so they correct my grammar sometimes, they correct the way I say things, my pronunciations, because I was born and raised in the streets of the South Bronx, and we have a different way of speaking. We have a different way of expressing ourselves. So every now and then, you'll hear something related to how my linguistics, or the way that I spoke before or expressed myself, you'll see that. And I realize that the whole purpose is not to sound different. I believe it's to sound the best that I can. That volume and tone have a lot to do with it, and the message itself. I believe that the aggressiveness also takes toll, and it's a huge conducive, to this as well. So tone of voice, volume, two different things, but relative. Content, the things that you're saying, the way that your face is describing, what's going on. People read hands and signs, and how you look, and the motions that you make. And sometimes it's evidently clear, so people think when they say certain things, and you think that you know exactly what there's a hidden meaning. He didn't look like he was comfortable saying that. Some people are very revealing. Some people are astronomically deceptive with doing these things, so don't think and underestimate people, because they know exactly what they're doing. Some people know exactly what they're doing, and that's the only way they know how to do things, through deceit. We call those people snakes in the grass. We like to be transparent from jump. But like what we talked about before, the prisoner's dilemma, that you're thinking about what the other person's thinking, the other person's thinking what you're thinking, and they're both thinking, nobody's talking. So the assumptions are coming without any facts, and that's where the feelings come into play. When another person says, where'd you get that from? Like, why do you even think like that? That's where grudges come from. That's where trust is violated, because your out-of-pocket sources of information become revealed before you get a chance to actually be prudent and think about how you're going to say it, what you're going to say. Nobody says it's easy, but remember, let's go back to the beginning of this show when I said, let's talk about insanity. One of the explanations, let's go back to it. Let's go back to it one more time. One of the explanations says, it's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different results. This is from Albert Einstein, which is an intelligent man. Did he have all the answers? No, but he had some really key things that to this day, we utilize. E equals MC squared, I believe. Or I think the theory of relativity. There's a lot of quotes that he said that actually were bangers too. Those are real strong head hitters, where they stop you and they make you think, and they say, they make you go, Those are the ones that they're strong, and he has a lot of those. So yeah, absolutely. His information, the way he says things, is valuable. It carries weight because of his way of thinking and the other things that he has contributed, to history and the way things work to this day. So yes, he's given a lot of credibility. He's giving a lot of applause. He's giving a lot of praise. But does he know all the answers? No. Was he a master of relationships? Maybe in a mathematical way that in this day and era requires a lot more than just mathematics. Requires a lot more than just memes, a lot more than just sayings, being a proverb. You understand? So you got to understand that it's all about balance. Too much information is too much, is an overload. Even not in a physical sense. If you load your brain up with too much information, your brain goes into a mental shutdown. It's a proven fact. I never drew this before, and I always wanted to. So we're going to start with what? I have the black one, so I'll draw the outline, and I'll do this while we're doing this together. This is a wastebasket, you know? And, you know, this is information. You got information here, right? And it leads to this level. And then you have some more information, and your information is being processed through daily. Like things you learn, things you see, things you hear. You just not really paying attention to how much information, you know, we do when we see. So another level of information. You know, now the wastebasket, you know, the basket is getting full. You know, you're going to be going to this level right here. You don't want to go to this level right here. Because the glass is full, man. And you have to learn how to flush. You pull the lever. You pull the lever right here. And everything just flushes down, right? Everything just if I could do it that way, everything just flushes down. It comes out the glass. And now you have more space. You know? And even if you don't flush it all the way, you still have, you know, room to play with. But every now and then, you want to flush. You want to flush the toilet, the mental toilet, you know? What do? We draw, there's no toilet here. Right? That's a toilet, right? We draw a mental toilet. Flush the toilet. Flush your mental toilet. You cannot be walking around with too much on your mind. You're holding together. You got to find a way out. You have to be accountable for your own life, and don't allow yourself to go into a mental breakdown, into a panic attack, an anxiety attack. You have to recognize when it's too much, but we can start by letting go. Letting go. Don't let it full up. Don't let it get to these levels. You know? Don't do it. Stop testing yourself. You know? Every human has a breaking point. And we don't have to continue to try to reach this breaking point. What else can we talk about? Okay, some steps to New Year's resolutions. Let's do this. Okay? Look, I used to be against people that did New Year's resolutions because for the most part, they don't continue. Some of them actually do. And I have to understand that only a small percentage of people take life seriously. They don't. Because they just go with the flow and they follow what everybody else does. If that's your cup of tea, then that's fine. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to say anything. It's when you start complaining about why your life is the way it is and you're not looking at it, and I will point the finger and say it's you. Why? Because it's me. If there is anything that I'm missing in life at this point, and if there's anything that I have too much of, or I do too much, or I don't do enough, this is my fault. At this point in my life, it is my fault. I've already recognized my flaws. I've listened to the critics. I've listened to the complaints. I've apologized in public to the world. I forgave myself for the things that I've done, regardless if they forgave me or not. And I'm being authentic and genuine about this. And I've said sorry. And if I owe somebody money, please come and tell me. And if I owe someone a favor, please come and tell me, because I want to fulfill these things. I want to apologize for not fulfilling these things, but it wasn't done intentionally. But that list has become so small, and I'm sure there are things out there that I didn't accomplish or I didn't follow up on because I'm not perfect. But as I grew in life and as I became more experienced and aged in wisdom, I realized that the closure that I was looking for is me not keeping my word, because that is one of the most unsettling things that you can feel, is not keeping your word. As a human being, it feels awful not to keep your word. It feels awful coming up with excuses. It feels awful to lie. The more you do it, the more you become better at it. Isn't that insanity? The more you do things over and over and expect a different result. But if you do something over and over, like dedication or discipline, it is expected to take you there. Repetitive. So then now you got to understand, you have to pick and choose what you're going to be insane about. How about that? Let's just say that if you're going to do something in an insane way, do it in a positive state of mind. Negativity does not exist unless you let it exist. It's impossible. Negativity does not exist unless you let it exist. Of course, there's negativity that comes to you. You get those phone calls, you get the mail, a bill, credit problems. Yeah, life. Yes, it happens. But if we don't handle the stuff that we create, we're just adding to the everyday trauma. If we're not handling ourselves, we're making everything else that's normal to certain people and certain cultures and certain groups. We belong to a different culture when we make things harder than what they are. Is it because that we need the challenge? Is it because we are used to a habitual situation? Those are the things we need to look at. We have to be aware of who we are, what we like, what we don't like, what bothers us. So we have to stop making believe. We got to stop making believe that we like something when we don't. And it gets to a point where you sound snotty and you sound outspoken and you sound aggressive because this is part of it. But the other part is that there might not be any accountability on the other side of whatever you're going through. You have to admit that the majority of the problems that come are the things that we allow and the things that we do. So we're doing too much, we're not doing enough. And when you involve another human being, you got kids, you got a wife, you got a husband. Who lives with you? Your aunt, your grandmother, your sister, your brother, your uncle, your friend, your father, whoever. The more people that are involved in your home, your state of mind, in your circle that you spend a lot of time with, they all become influential. They all become a part of the variables in your life. You go from one conversation to another and you say, okay, I'm at this level right here, right? I'm at this level, right? But then a conversation that you wasn't expecting comes. Don't you get that phone call sometimes? You be like, I don't know how to tell you this. Here it comes. Bum, 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 bum. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then now you're like, damn, I didn't even get a chance to chill out or calm down from the last situation. I didn't even think the other one through. I didn't come up with a solution for what I was thinking. I'm still working and in the process of doing the other. You see how it works? How can people do this? It's preposterous. People don't care. They don't love me. They don't give me a chance to breathe. Like, it's a different way of venting. And sometimes it comes out of the wrong way. Look, even saying it the way I'm saying it, I actually feel it when I speak like that. I'm not acting or making believe. I had to be that passionate in order to display to you what it is. I didn't want to paraphrase and I didn't want to act is. I wanted to be in that mental, in that spiritualism, to see what it sounds like, what it feels like. We've all been around that. We sound snotty because we explain to people when we ask people a question over and over. We don't want to hear ourselves. We don't want to repeat ourselves. But let's go back to the insanity. Doing things over and over and expecting a different result. If you keep hearing yourself speaking, why do you keep talking if you're not getting any results? In that case, you are insane for expecting something different when you're not doing anything, or you're not distributing consequences or pointing to the responsibility and the accountability of what's going on here. I'm the type of person that when we have a conversation, I tell you what I did wrong or what I could have done better. That helps alleviate, and it's like an icebreaker so that the other person doesn't feel like they're being attacked. I also use the aptitude to show someone I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow with you. I'm not here to argue with you. You know, I'm not here for you to be my punching bag or for me to be your punching bag. Just like I explained a couple of times before, nowadays you have to ask someone, am I here to listen to you or am I supposed to give you my take on this? What are you asking for? My ear or my mouth or a little bit of both? That's where ambiguity comes into play. Being clear. Having this clarity about what's going on.
which has to do with awareness. You have to be clear about how you speak and how you perceive things without projecting or reflecting on something else and relating it to a past experience, and then creating a personal stereotype to what these things are, always relating it to the norm and what other people say. When I do the opposite, I try to extract it and give it its own uniqueness. It's more fun that way. Instead of categorizing everything in the same thing. Oh, that's just that. That's that. Oh, that's that. That's that. You know how many times I said that in my life? Oh, that's just that, and I've been incredibly wrong. I've been wrong. Like, I had this conversation earlier with someone where I remember being right, fighting to the end, but the fight was wrong. You see, I've noticed that I used to fight about what I heard instead of what it is. So in reality, I'm saying, I know what I heard, but I heard this and I promoted it as though it was true without fact checking. This was earlier in my life. So when you argue with someone and they go and they prove it to you, and you go, and you still come out with a last, yeah, but that's only like the stubbornness and how it feels. And I realized that I had to get uncomfortable with being called out. I had to be uncomfortable with facing the truth. I have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable when those things come to light. I realized that in order for me to have a real conversation with someone, in order for me to reach a certain person, in order for me to have not just a reputation, but live a lifestyle of being honest and know differences between the honesties and the dishonesties, what's missing, what's not missing, and teaching ourselves to get the whole story, because otherwise it's not a fact. A fact is the complete story. It's not just bits and pieces. It is bits and pieces that make up the entire story. But if there are pieces that are missing, you don't get to dictate whether that's fact or not. It's missing pieces, it's missing components. Whether you think it's relevant or not, at a certain point, those things that you loaded the data in your brain without the entire fact, the entire message, will come back at a certain point if you don't go back and learn the rest of that. That is part of growth and learning, is recognizing when you did not get the entire data, the entire information, and you're able to realize that and come back to the source and learn. Finish what you started. Finish what you started. Do what you say you're going to do. Follow up. Check yourself. Don't allow yourself to miss out on the things that you put forward. Or at least confront it and tell the person, or tell yourself, or whoever it is, that you made this promise to, or you made this claim, or you said that you was going to do something. Tell them you're not going to do it. Just tell them you're not going to do it. Tell them you're not going to do it. Why don't you do that today? Why don't you pick up the phone and call someone that you told you're going to do something and you're not going to do it? So you know what? I feel like a certain, whatever word you want to use, and I've been telling you that I'm doing this and I'm not putting any effort into this, and I feel bad because I'm not keeping my word, but the truth is that I can't do it. Or when you reach a consensus where you could admit to a person that you keep talking about something and you're never showing it, that honestly is very interesting to a person that is down by nature, that is balanced. You know, we always want love from people that don't give it to us. We keep fighting for things that people are not willing to give us. And then the people that love us, we push them away because they're giving it to us. We feel like we have to earn it. People keep telling us so many different rules and so many different institutions, which are the rules of the game, of how to do this. The norms, the culture, they keep us from allowing, they don't allow us, they stop us from thinking, from being creative, from opening up the possibilities. Like when somebody helps you and you're not paying attention to if you ask somebody for help and they're showing you they're showing you and they're right in front of you and they do it, you should be paying attention. It's disrespectful when someone teaches you the same thing over and over and they don't see no progress, and then when they look to the right or look to the left to look at you, you're not paying attention. You're not asking the right questions. You're not into what's going on. You're waiting for them to solve the problem. And guess what? This problem might be an ongoing problem. Can I say technical problems, website problems, logging in problems, streaming problems, hard drive, RAM, speed? I mean, there is just so many things that can go wrong. And we expect people to continue to help us. And we're disrespectful and not showing them that we've learned something from the last time that they've showed us something. Just the same way, a lot of people claim that they are empathetic, right? And they say that the opposite of an empathetic person is a narcissist. So an empathetic person, an overly empathetic person, is someone that feels everything, that they worry with you, they compassionate. They feel what you feel. They share. They try to get inside your shoes. So a narcissistic person doesn't care about you at all. They care about themselves. They're self-centered. They believe in themselves. Is there a happy median? Is there a positivity to being narcissistic? Maybe. Maybe it's your turn to shine. Does that make you a narcissist? Maybe it's your turn to gracefully show people what you've learned. When is it our time to shine, to show people what we've done? When we put things into action, right? Because the information comes as data. We transfer it into information. We put it into existence. We use it to strategize. We use it to set goals. And then we have a strategy in place to monitor it, to make sure that there's times or periods in time where we check up and follow up on our progress. That we don't take it for granted that once we set it, that it's going to float exactly where we need to float. If you put something in the water and no wind happens, no waves happen, no fish touch it, nothing happens, then yes, it'll go straight. But with the forces of nature, it's bound to change course and it's bound to be interfered with things that we're not prepared for. And that's what the bottom line is in today's topic. The more you are prepared, the more you can insanely defend or attack, depending on what the situation is. Sometimes you have to do a thrust attack, which requires force. Sometimes you can do a feint attack, which is Feint, feint, which is making believe you're going to do a move and then doing the opposite, like a fake, like bob and weave. Sometimes you got to, when you're in boxing, and you go like this, and the person jumps, and he does it again, then you know that he might do it again. You know what I'm saying? So think about it. Like, remember that video game, Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and the other Punch Out, where he would do this, and then he's going to start attacking, or the light would shine, or he'll do something, or whatever it is. Whatever. He'll do something to let you know. Once you realize the signs, then you know how to deal with it. And that's why I say that in certain stages, life is like a video game, Life is like a video game. When your kids come to you and they are nervous about something, laugh with them, but don't laugh at them. Encourage them and tell them, hey, you know what? That's great that you're going through that. I remember that. You're going to be better than I am because now you know ahead of time that there's nothing to it. That once you learn something, that it becomes second nature. It becomes part of your vocabulary. It becomes part of your daily routine. It becomes part of your existence. It is an attribution. It is an addition. It is a skill set. It is something that you're going to pick up and use to create more wealth. Information used the right way is wealth. Information that's stored and not used becomes bacteria. It allows germs to seep in. You're not utilizing it. It doesn't have a metabolism. Things have to be done in free. Like, remember how they used to show the molecules in gas moves faster than the molecules in liquid, and then in a solid they barely move at all. So even though matter does move and change its existence if it's manipulated or if it's left alone. It still does some incredible things. So think about, when is it time to be air? When is it time to be liquid? When is it time to be solid? Or you can use solid as stubborn, and you can use gas and air. When you want to be airy is when things are all over the place. A lot of ideas are coming in, and then you put it in a liquid form. You put it in a liquid form where it's not all over the place. It's still flowing. It's still going manipulated. You pour something out. It all goes in one pattern, and you manipulate the way things are poured until you create a solid, and then it's consistent. And that's when you get something in level. Sustainability. That's when you reach a level of sustainability, when you have a controlled consistency, when you have something that just continues to work because the monitoring system is doing its job to continue to monitor it, and they also add quality, total quality management to everything that they do. They're always looking to advance. They don't let inflation or things of this nature, they foresee things because they're into it. They're paying attention to it. Pay attention to your life. Mind your business. Mind your own business. Take that as a compliment that someone is telling you, do what you have to do. Good evening. How you doing? I see you. JT Fire in the house. Yeah, take control of the things you say. Take control of the things you don't say. Take control. There are times where you say, I should have said something. Think about that. That's a good one. That's a good practice. That's when I should have said something. But then you say to yourself, use that affirmation right there and then. Next time when this situation arises, if it does, I'll be ready for it. If I miss my opportunity to deal with that and it never comes my way, then it is what it is. I've accepted that I did not capitalize or utilize the right reaction. Proactive, reactive. I try to do things in a proactive way. People get upset at me sometimes because they say the grass is not always greener on the other side. You are 100% right. It's not always like that. But don't stop me from allowing myself to assist you and not letting you this be a hindrance to you, or the reason for your stagnation, or the reason for why you're not moving forward. Things don't always have to come direct. They can come inadvertently. They can come in so many different ways. But if we're not open to all the different ways of a communication, of learning, of using estimated guessing, and again, finger pointing the right way, it starts with pointing yourself. You realize your flaws, and you realize how it feels to be healthy. How it feels so good to know that you're helping yourself. Like, man, I wish I would have did this before. Okay, let it go. It is what it is. Man, I wish this. Man, and then guess what? Then you start. That's where the regret starts coming from. And then some people don't get past those stages. So you have to realize when you're putting too much emphasis or too much sense of urgency into the wrong things. We need to focus on what is necessary in order to get that forward. When we add the wrong elements, the wrong variables, the wrong decisions, the wrong words, the wrong attitude, the wrong voice, the wrong volume, yes, it's a lot to think about. Yes, it's a lot to do. But if you want to be happy and you want to coexist with other people, it is our responsibility to not overlook these things. I want to coexist with other people. I've learned to be alone for the first time in my life recently. And it has empowered me to be who I am and not to beg anyone for their presence or for them to accompany me or to come with me or to spend time with me or to talk to me. And this goes for every relationship. I am not going to beg anyone. I am not going to push to have someone come see me. I will let their actions speak for themselves. And if they want to write themselves out of or rid themselves out of my line of sight, then that's a risk that they're taking. Because I remember when we talk about absence, we talk about that absence can make the heart grow fonder at times. You miss people. And if it's for the right reasons, because they were positive and they helped you and they make you feel good and they encourage you, if you're at that level, you will miss good people. You will miss good people. You will miss people that were good for you. Even if at one point they were bad, you will miss people that were good for you because they understand you, because they've taken a liking to you, an interest into you. They want to see you succeed. These are the people that we push away. I've pushed people like this away, and now I have people pushing me away. And it's only because their actions are demonstrating something different. They're not matching their words with their actions. They're taking things for granted, and some lines are not meant to be crossed. So that's where I'm at with this situation. And everyone should take a page out of that book and look at it and look at how actions become habits, and then the consistency and how hard it is to remove yourself from that. But all you have to do is be aware and realize when you're doing too much and when you're not doing enough. If the sense of urgency is placed in the wrong genre, in the wrong course of action, in the wrong lineage, in the wrong rite of passage, you have to recognize when you're doing the wrong thing. You'll be like, that's not going to work. I described it wrong. If there's here's another, I've said this twice before and I'll say it again. If there's a word that keeps coming up in vocabulary, in a TV, in a taxi, in a conversation, and look it up. Look it up. Look at the different versions of it. How it's used as a verb, how it's used as a noun. Look it up. Stop limiting words to what everybody else uses them for. Open up your creativity, open up your vocabulary level by understanding that some of the words do not have a negative or a positive. It's not male or female. In Spanish, you can designate the man and the female by the ending of it. Señora, señor, hombre, hembra, or a word in the beginning, but certain vowels will change the femininity and the masculine part of these words. But some of these words are not bounded to feelings, negativity, positivity, direction, insanity. Again, extreme foolishness or irrationality. Insanity, extreme foolishness. The state of being seriously mentally ill, madness. So if we look at the disorder, and if you want to get into this a little bit more, the disorder tells us, and I'll spread this out a little bit so that you can see it a little bit better. Mental illness is usually a broader and more inclusive term than insanity. Insanity is usually reserved for describing severe conditions involving psychotic-like breaks with reality, while mental illness can include both severe and milder forms of mental problems such as anxiety disorders and mild depressions. All topics of discussions that we talked about today for some people. These are all relative to the balance that we need. When we feel a certain way and it's overwhelming, it's because our equilibrium or our balance, our chakra is not balanced, aligned. Something is wrong. We need to find out what's wrong. We have to admit, look at the truth for what it really is. We have to admit when we're wrong. We have to admit when we left things out that were probably crucial. We have to understand that we attract what we are. We want always something different from what we actually are. And then when we get this person, you clash because you're different people. Think about the things that you have in common with the person that you're with right now. Do you argue every day? Do you bump heads every day with certain people? Because if you do, it's because there is something that is not balanced there. Something is unfair. Something is not equivalent. We're not talking about equality here because equality is very different from equivalent. We try to balance things out and never look at it at a 50-50. Some things can be 50-50, but most things are not 50-50. That's almost impossible for everything in life with you and a person to be 50-50. Someone is doing more than they want to. Someone is doing less than they should or could. It's very hard to balance things out. But if you're true to yourself and you're true to your partner and you have a good person, love them. Stay exciting, stay relevant, Talk to them. Talk to your kids. Talk to your family members, please. Talk to your friends, man. If there are people that you miss and you know they were good people, and you feel guilty sometimes that you probably weren't a good friend, snap out of that. Snap out of that. You deserve, to give that person the acknowledgement that you don't know if that person's going through a bad time, but you deserve to give that person that acknowledgement. You say, you know what, when I think about you, I have good thoughts. What would stop you from giving a compliment? We're so fast to criticize, judge, to point fingers. But when it comes to thanking people, when it comes to admitting things, we're so behind. Why is that? You have the audacity and you have the strength and you have the courage to let it all out when you're attacking and when you're into your feelings and you're in your own bag. Why don't you use the same energy for positivity and change your life and the people around you? Create a different sense of respect, a different sense of responsibility. Let's push this to levels that we thought we could not. Let's let it be entertaining. It is entertaining when growth is coming. It is very entertaining when you are growing. It feels fantastic when you see developments. It feels great when you see differences. And it comes from being insane. It comes from doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results because you're practicing something that you're not a master of. Can it be utilized in that sense? Oh, it wasn't meant for that. Says who? You create your own dialogue. Hey, DJ Extraordinaire, I see you. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone. You're the one who creates most of the dilemmas. You have your outside influences, the people that you're surrounded by. But if you're not handling your own stuff, you're not handling your own self, then it becomes too overwhelming and you already know the characters and the personalities and the roles of the people that are currently in your life. Are you not paying attention to who's in your life? You know your wife, you know your husband, you know your kids. And if you don't, then there's a high probability that you don't know yourself and you might not know enough to be a contributor because you're not in tune with reality. Your reality, you know what they say, that when a lot of people say the same thing about you, you should start paying attention. There's a yes and a no to that. Remember, balance. What about if there's someone who said something bad about you and other people don't like you just because of what somebody said? Because people are real quick to reach a consensus or to get team members or to get fans of how they feel. If somebody's mad at you, they'll try to get someone to agree with them so that they're not wrong. But these are people that are not in tune with reality, because you should be able to reach a consensus without no one. And this is the difference between a grown-up and someone who's not developed yet. And there's no way on earth that you'll be able to have a relationship until you recognize your role, what you do, what you don't do, your effect on other people, or what effect transpired. Be in tune with reality. If you're a dominant person and you're with someone that's submissive or extremely passive, then you might be a match or if there's a narcissist and there's an empath and the person is happy being the empath and the other person's happy being the narcissist, then it might be a match made in heaven. It could lead to strong mental conditions down the road. It might work out. I'm sure there's been plenty of relationships that have lived its life from beginning to end with a narcissist and an empath. But again, everybody has their breaking point. Everybody has their limitations. And this is why we drew this thing earlier. When this glass gets full, it overflows. And now you can't control. Now you have no control. You lose information in the process. You have no control of how it's distributed. You don't even know the contents that you lose various points that are important in any growth or education experience. You lose sight of reality and what's real. and you try to complement it, or you try to substitute it for something that's realistic, something as you get as close as you can. Hey, if that's the best you got, that's the best you got. But you can't keep winging it. You can't keep lip syncing life. You can't keep making believe and playing it off. You can't do that. You can't keep using the same tactic. Maybe that's what they mean by insanity. Switch it up a little bit. Try something different. Try something else. Try your best to change it a little bit. Like I've explained to the people that are rookies and they're new at doing things. Learn how to do it first before you add your twist to it. Before you make it your own. Before you don't learn how to do it right. Appreciate what it is. Enjoy the gift of knowledge. Enjoy the gift of information. Enjoy what life has to offer. Plant the seeds that you need to grow and water the seed. Make sure the seed gets enough sunlight. Look at yourself like a plant or like a flower. Dig a hole inside yourself and remove everything. Clear everything out. Despójate. Remove the demons. Physically, drink something that will take out the antioxidant. Will be used as an antioxidant. Fiber. Clean yourself, your intestines. Clean your lungs out. Clean all the organs in your body out. Clean your brain out. Clean everything that you can. And then plant seed in fresh soil. Don't plant seeds into yourself until you release yourself from all the toxins, until you relieve yourself from something that could be germinated. Clean yourself out spiritually. If you have to pray, pray. If you have to do yoga, do yoga. If you have to do workout, workout. If you have to run, run. Something physical, something spiritual, something financial, something educational, something relationship. Grow in different parts. All these things belong to Total Wealth Management. That's the book that's going to come. That's the last book that I'm going to write, the third book. Total Wealth Management is what we're looking for. How to look at wealth as a whole. The different components and the moving parts to life add to Total Wealth Management. Let's all get it together and let's wrap this up. We had a great conversation today. A lot of it was relative. Some of it was repeated information. Some of you are going to hear it for the first time. Some of you is going to hear it for the third time. Don't look at it as repetitive information. Have you put it into effect? Have you made a comparison already? Have you been able to take the information and the data that you have been given or shared and put it into practice? Because that's one way of flushing the toilet, is put it into practice. The other way is to store it in the right place and utilize it when you need it. Knowing when to do things. When you're overloaded, when you're stressed out, when you have anxious, too much anxiety, too much fear, too much anxiety, too much fear. When you have too much of those things, it's overwhelming. Too much of anything is too much. Even something good. Something good. Too much of something good is still overwhelming because you have to be able to see the other side. If you never know what it is to lose, if you know what it is to be poor, you're never going to be able to handle it if it happens to you. Just like if you don't know what it is to be rich, or what would you do if you don't have a plan? If you ever became rich, you're going to lose it. Because you don't have a strategy, you don't have the discipline, you don't know what it takes to create sustainability, to maintain that and create some wealth, which is sustainability in your life. Create your own legacy and start the process to richness, to wealth for your family and future families to come, where they can start with a head start and in a life that's already difficult as it is. To be brought into poverty, to be brought into no information, to be brought into a life where you're not fact checking and you don't care about honesty, that you want things done your way, that's not fair. Learn how to coexist. Come on, let's live this life together. Let's add to the quality. Let's work on this together. Let's grow. Stop making excuses. Stop blaming people. Feed yourself with this information. Put it in the right place. Focus. Don't let distractions come. If you're the type that you let distractions come, then you have to learn how to multitask. That's something that we'll be talking about in futures to come. We'll be talking about relationship maintenance, multitasking, love yourself first, and how to start doing that with all these other factors. These are all the keys to doing that. So the last words of wisdom is that I'll tell you, don't be misled by your own self. Don't be misled by what you hear. Take everything at face value. Learn a little bit more about it before you become reactive. Put a little effort into understanding what's in front of you. You might be amazed of how many times that you're wrong, or your perception leads you in the same direction or in a direction that you're not supposed to be in. Let's put the work and effort into it. Come on, people. Let's put some effort, sense of urgency into fixing, at least in this community, the people that are listening. Let's do something, man, so we can create a stronger bond, a stronger energy, more power, more clarity, less ambiguity. Like, let's work on this, man. Let's be aware. Let's push. Let's stop talking and let's start doing. Let's start balancing the mouth and add some action to it. I love you all. I want you all to succeed. I will never hate. I will envy in a very positive way, because enviousness is not always negative. Like I said, there's always a positive way of looking at things. I'm jealous of a lot of you people because some of you people have things that I don't have that I wish I could have. And when you learn to recognize that we all have things to contribute and that nobody's better than others because we know how to value things and put things in a value sense, in like a thermometer, like the weather, the temperature, the tangibility of it in levels, I'm with you all the way. From the creators of LMC, where loyalty means everything, and Olmiga Enterprises, I am your host, Olmiga. Happy holidays to all. If I don't see you before the new year or hear from you, we got a lot to cover with the recap of the year coming next year, and we got a lot of cool subjects and topics to talk about. Don't forget that on the YouTube, the merchandise is there. If you want to contribute, if you want to support, that's one way of doing it. I do a lot of programs. I give a lot away. I do a lot of philanthropy projects, and you could all be a part of it. And I'll make sure that anything that you do to contribute will go a long way. I'm so happy to be a part of this platform. Happy holidays. May you all stay blessed. Let's go.